Ruben Neves, Kalidou Koulibaly, N'Golo Kante, Hakim Ziyech, Edouard Mendy are amongst some of the Premier League stars that have switched the traditional riches of the Premier League to the richer riches of the less traditional Saudi Pro League. We are seeing a huge amount of players currently being linked with the Saudi Pro League, from players reaching the end of their careers such as Karim Benzema, Cristiano Ronaldo, to some of Europe's top talents like Ruben Neves from Wolves, who was linked to Barcelona less than a year ago. And it's got me thinking, this all sounds really familiar. But is the Saudi Pro League destined to fail like the Chinese Super League? Hey, I'm Greg from the SGFC Football Podcast, and today we'll be talking about the rise and fall of the Chinese Super League and if the Saudi Pro League is destined to follow in their footsteps. If you're liking this content, don't forget to hit the subscribe button down there and check us out on Spotify. All of our links will be down in the description below. I want you to cast your mind back to 2016, when out of nowhere, the Chinese Super League announced itself on the world footballing stage by signing Premier League and European stars such as Oscar, Hulk, Alex Teixeira, Yannick Carrasco, Ramirez, Alex Witsel and Alexander Pato, some arriving for huge fees. Oscar and Hulk were reportedly around £50 million each. Many of the teams at the time were run by large Chinese firms, which in turn were run by the government, essentially making the Chinese Super League a government entity. The hope was that bringing in this top European and South American talent would help to propel the popularity of football in China, while at the same time helping to develop homegrown talent. Chinese President Xi Jinping said in 2011 that he had three dreams for Chinese football: compete in a World Cup, host a World Cup, and win a World Cup. More and more stars followed to what was the golden road in football, due to the huge salaries being offered to help grow the Chinese domestic league. Oscar was reportedly getting around £400,000 a week, dwarfing even the salaries offered by the richest of Premier League teams. Legendary players and managers such as Drogba, Anelka, Mascherano, Lavezzi, Marek Hamsik, Tevez, Big Phil Scolari and even World Cup winning manager Marcelo Lippi all got in on the action. But it's 2023 now. The Chinese Super League has fallen off a cliff, and long gone are the aspirations of making a league to compete with the highest and best in Europe. No longer do they attract the top talent that they once were, with total expenditure for the 22-23 season at around £8 million, down from its highs of the 15-16 season of around £400 million spent on players. The Chinese national team is no closer to even qualifying for a World Cup at this point, let alone hosting one, and a lot of the teams that were involved in the league have now gone bust. Now the Saudi Pro League has stepped up to be the new world power of football to try and compete with the likes of the Premier League. As we said before, they are being linked with every player under the sun right now, and this all started with the figurehead signing of Cristiano Ronaldo after his controversial exit from Manchester United earlier this year. But we all really know it was to boost his already incredible bank balance. He signed a deal worth apparently around £177 million a year. It's unbelievable money by anyone's standards, even by Saudi standards. But despite all of his interview shenanigans and reports of not getting along well with his teammates at Manchester United, it was a key signing for the Saudi League to be the figurehead of the brand new project they are looking to implement in the league. These plans all fall under the Saudi Vision 2030, which is a nationwide upheaval of the primarily oil-focused economy to become a tourist destination, financial hub and a world-leading economic powerhouse, all being led by the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Saudi Arabia and the ruling royal family also share the Chinese president's dream of hosting a World Cup. They're aiming for the World Cup 2030 to help highlight and showcase what their country can offer and increase its standing in the world eyes that is constantly tainted by allegations of human rights. And it's been proven that using sport is a great way of doing this. Just look at Qatar. After hosting the World Cup and opening their doors to the Arab world, according to Fast Company Middle East, there's been a 347% increase in tourism to the Gulf state since the World Cup. Many organisations, however, have described the current actions as sportswashing. which is essentially diverting attention away from the questionable abuses of women and the LGBT community to focus on sport and show off that, hey, look, we're doing a really good thing and promoting sport in our country, and just trying to make you forget about everything else that's going on in the background. FIFA, UEFA, and most recently Chelsea Football Club have come under scrutiny for their dealings with Saudi Arabia, not to mention the takeover of Newcastle by PIF, the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia. When Newcastle were purchased by PIF, Premier League fans were outraged that this was able to get past all of the good ownership tests that the Premier League puts in place for new owners. Because essentially, the Public Investment Funds of Saudi Arabia is the investment branch of the Saudi government. So it really brings into question the idea of governments being involved in sports, which FIFA and UEFA are very much against. So how did that manage to happen? We're still quite unsure. In recent weeks, PIF has bought majority shares in the 4 biggest clubs in Saudi Arabia: Al Nassr, who are currently Ronaldo's employers; Al Hilal, who have purchased Ruben Neves and Kalidou Koulibaly; Al Alil, who have bought Edouard Mendy; and Al Ittihad, who have bought French pair Karim Benzema and N'Golo Kante. And you can see why they've done it, why they've bought in these big European players. Big players coming into the league means more people coming to the stadium. More people come to the stadium means more opportunities for investment and for media rights. Let's show these players off to the world because people want to see these players play. So bring in more broadcasters, the investment comes in, more attention is on the Saudi League, and hoping to boost that Saudi World Cup. Now, I'm sure Saudi Arabia has looked at the Chinese Super League and seen that how bringing in these big players doesn't mean success, doesn't mean that the popularity continues. You need to invest in your grassroots level of football. If you want to be investing and developing your national team and your national league, you have to be developing your homegrown players. The Premier League brings in some of the biggest players from the world, some of the greatest talents from all over Europe and other continents. However, it also produces amazing English and other national talents through its academy systems, which have been invested in by the billions. Chelsea is a great example of that. They bring out so many young players that then go out to all different countries, all different clubs across Europe. That it helps to invest and helps them to purchase other players. UEFA's president, Alexander Ceferin, isn't worried by the current outgoings of top players because many are at the end of their careers at a top level, and he cites China as an example. No. I think it's mainly a mistake for Saudi Arabian football, he told Dutch outlet NOS. Why is that a problem for them? Because they should invest in academies, they should bring coaches, and they should develop their own players. The system of buying the players that almost ended their careers is not the system that develops football. It was a similar mistake in China when they all bought players who are at the end of their careers. Tell me one player who is top age and who starts his career and went to play in Saudi Arabia. But it's not about money only. Players want to win top competitions, and top competitions are in Europe. So UEFA think the Saudi Pro League will not be able to compete with Europe's top leagues at the end of the day. But what do you think? Let us know in the comments below. And while you're there, hit the subscribe button. We really appreciate it. But until next time, I've been Greg from the SGFC, and we'll see you later.